right, welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Daybreak Africa. And now it's time for the interview segment where our guest is on ground. Earlier on, we were talking about migration, people relocating and all of that. And we have our guest to shed more light on the growth of travel industry in Nigeria. And yes, she is Phebe, Chile. She is a travel expert. She's a travel consultant. If you need anything about traveling and all of that, yes, you can visit her. Welcome to Daybreak Africa. It's nice to have you here.
Nice to have you.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you
I
for
like
having
your pink
me.
dress. I wish it were my size. I would have just said don't spread it on the hanger because I'll just
Can you imagine?
I'll grab it.
So, you like a pink dress. I like a shining shoes. I don't know if you can see it on camera.
I don't think they can. The table is obstructing it.
I believe you should. I really can see. It's nice to have you.
Nice to
Thank
be
you
here
so much
too.
for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, let's talk about the travel industry. Now, before we came on this segment, Ololade and I had just talked about a story where they said there's going to be a surge in Jakwaism of Nigerians. So when you look at it, you find that there's this, what's it called? There's this urge to leave the country. Now, I don't want us to focus on Jakpa or whatever it is, but I want us to focus on travel as a thing. And I would like to start that conversation from the process and the cost of traveling. Many times I've seen people say, oh, it's costing me about 4 million, 7 million. It's always in millions. And I'm usually like, if I had 7 million in Nigeria, I know what I would do with 7 million. I know what I would do with 4 million or whatever the amount is. And I've seen people leave the country with their entire family. Now, I've seen people also go for vacations. I don't want to focus it on people that are leaving the country for good, since we're talking about travel and not Jakpa. So there are a lot of people who want to travel, maybe just to see the world. For example, I, for one, I strongly believe in traveling. I believe that when you travel, you're going to see a different side to how the world revolves or how the world moves, because what we were brought up with is what we have. But by the time you travel, there's this sense of exposure that you get, and you tend to learn more. Now, there are a lot of people out there that just want to travel, but I want you to let us know, is it a myth or a reality that the cost of traveling is very, very high? I know that there's the exchange rate and everything is expensive, but then is it that is it possible for you to travel on a budget, or and how low can that budget go? What's the worst or the best it can be? I don't know if it's worst or best, but let me just allow you to respond.
Okay. I mean, you are right. Traveling is expensive, and I don't think it's
You just broke my heart by starting with traveling is expensive.
Traveling is expensive. You can't rule out the fact that you are going to another country.
Right.
And then you need to consider the airline. If you're talking about travel in general,
right,
I think one of the most expensive aspects now you start to think about is the flight booking, because these airlines need to get their commission. So if you think about the hotel, the accommodation, you know, there are so many ways you can cut down on that particular area, because you can now consider going for short-let homes. You know, then you can probably do, okay, we are a group, we can stay in an apartment, we can cook, we can carry our foodstuff from Nigeria. And you know,
people do that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So basically, some of those things
continue.
are going to help you cut down and like help you travel on a budget. But you can't rule out the fact that the flight booking is one of the most expensive parts of traveling.
I would agree with that, because I think about a week ago I was trying to book a flight for someone to Mauritius. When the person said, let me book this flight, I was like, Mauritius is not far now, it's not just Africa here. by the time I got on the airline website and I was saying 4 million, I said, excuse me, where are we going? Mauritius. I saw that the price was very, very high. And it wasn't just I think it was also just due to the fact that there weren't a lot of people going there. So there's a particular day that you get a flight to that country. Yes, I think it's just one flight in a day, and it's stop over. They have to stop maybe I don't know, maybe Lesotho or one of these other countries. Now let's talk about before we get to the flight part, the pre-travel itself. For people who are students, who are, let's say, unskilled, who wants to go for jobs as unskilled labor, do you think it's worth it, the sacrifice that they make Because now to write IELTS or SAT or TOEFL or any of these exams cost a lot of money. And if you don't make the desired mark for whatever you're applying for, that's probably the end. If you do make it, the certificate will last for, I think, 2 years, if I'm not mistaken. And all these factors are there. They, in my view, you may correct me, they're like chains that tie people down and don't allow them to just want to go the way they are supposed to go. Now, the preparation part, before it even gets to flight, because before you even book a flight, you have to have had visa and all of this. Is it worth the stress? Okay. Whether you are going for vacation, I don't want you to answer it on Japa people, because it will look as if we are attacking them or I am attacking them. So please, is it worth the stress?
So I'm not answering from the Japa side.
Please don't.
I'm just generally talking about vacation and traveling in general. Well, I think it's worth it. For one, I've been to a couple of countries just before now. I just used to have a dream about the idea that, oh, I always want to travel, because I don't think there's anybody that should come out and say, okay, I don't want to travel. I don't think there's anybody like that. If I come and give you a free visa now to go to the UK,
I would jump on it. Don't even try me.
You are not going to say no. That's because everybody longs to see beyond what they originally know. There's a test for knowledge in everybody, so there's no that thing that I don't like traveling. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist because it expands your mind in general. It's like it opens you up to learning new things. You know, I remember going to Dubai for the first time, and I'm going to tell you that when I'm comparing where I was versus what I saw there, you know, it opens my mind to so many things, meeting people, you know, experiencing their culture, and even learning how they do business. That's quite different from ours. Some of those processes you can now come back to apply in whatever area that you already specialize in. So, but one other aspect, I think, for people, for students, going to study there is actually very helpful. Because
now we're talking about the growth of the travel industry. Now let's talk about, we've talked about people relocating, people going there to study, people going for vacation and all of that. Now let's look into the industry. What is the growth rate like? Because we're talking about flights, tickets, how expensive it is, and all of, you know, even sometimes to get passports it's a whole lot.
Sometimes that's a fact. To get your international passport, it's a whole lot of process. That's why a lot of people end up having passport for 5 years without stamping it, because they are afraid of the fact that when they need it, they might have to wait for 3 months to get it.
So do you really think that the industry is really growing the way it's really should? Because you remember that 2019 there was also the COVID issue and all of that, and also we've had issues of fuel hike, even aviation fuel and all of that. Now, do you think the industry is growing the way it should?
Well, will I say it's growing the way it should? Well, to an extent, I think so.
I feel like I know where you are going with this response, but let me allow you land.
Yeah. So to an extent, I think it is, because I don't think there's any sector that doesn't have its own downside. There's no sector that is exclusively everything goes smoothly. So I think there's always that period when that will happen. But for the growth of, you know, the travel industry in Nigeria as it is, I think we are, you know, we haven't gotten to the point where we need to get to. Because if you are looking at generally the process of it entirely, making it difficult for people, like you can go to the embassy now and you just be like, what's going on? I
passed in front of the place like some weeks ago, and I'm like, is there a convention here?
Exactly, and then, you know, that's because some of these countries, when they say, okay, and Nigerians are coming over, they have their speculations. And some of these policies that should be put in place by the government that would make things like easy for us, because when you are going there, they're looking at you like you're in Nigeria, and there's this stereotype around it. So I feel like there are policies and things that need to be done to aid that growth, to make the process easy for people that want to travel. So when you're thinking of travel, it's not something that you're like, God, where will I start from? That kind of thing. But it's something that is a lot easy for you to. And then one particular growth aspect I want to talk about that you know, while we talk about all the plenty problems, we are talking about the good parts.
The good part, yeah.
So one thing I want to talk about is if you check out most travel agencies now, they are going beyond. Before, you'd have to go through somebody to, you know, book. While that still exists, we have like OTAs now.
Right.
That OTAs are like all these platforms online that you can go and make your bookings. You just easily impute all your whatever you need, and then, you know, it's easy for you to get. Maybe you're trying to book a flight ticket. You just be like, okay, this is what I want to put. This is what I want, and you get the details back immediately. So that growth process is something that technology is bringing in, and I feel like Nigerians and travel agencies in general are opening up to. So in that way, the process of it is getting simplified. So we just hope that, you know, in terms of the growth aspect in Nigeria and our own tourism, there's actually something to be that is done about it.
Okay, you've raised quite a number of things that I would like to point on. That's the part of the government and also tourism. But before we talk about those two, when Ololade asked that question, something came to my mind that as regards the growth of travel in Nigeria. And this part concerns majorly the travel agencies. I know that, let me just put it to you straight now. Do you think that the economic downturn or the situation in Nigeria or the reduction in the standard of living in Nigeria is an advantage? Do you think it is an advantage to travel agencies? Because a lot of people are leaving the country because the standard of living is not increasing. Their salaries since 5 years ago are the same thing. In fact, those in private sector, some people have been earning the same amount for 8-10 years, and they are still on the same salary, and there's hiking literally everything in the country. Do you think that it is an advantage for travel agencies, and has it caused some form of growth to travel in Nigeria, or has it done more harm than good?
Okay, that's a lot.
It's a lot. I know.
Okay, so I think there's what we call the peak period and the period when it's not there's no like a lot of people wanting to leave the country. So this currently is the peak period based on the fact that we are going through a lot in the country.
Is
currently.
It an advantage or not?
Well, it is in terms of the fact that they are going to be. I'm honest. It is because a lot of people are currently leaving the country. I mean, I think I was on a ride and this Uber guy just is like, I'm planning to leave. Like anytime I'm going with somebody, everybody's like, I'm planning to leave. It's like a thing in recent time, and it's quite understandable because there are so many opportunities out there, and people want to explore that. So I don't want to look at it as a bad thing. I feel like Nigeria is still a growing country, and definitely, you know, there's still going to be people in Nigeria. So I think for the travel agencies currently, it's an advantage because a lot of people are going to be wanting to use their services, and you know, it helped them. Then in terms of like the growth rate, you know, in 2017 up until 2021, you know, there's been like fluctuations. I mean, from 2017 to 2019, you know, people were coming into the country based on the fact that they wanted to see Nigeria or they wanted to see some places. But at the time of 2020 and COVID came along, it dropped. It dropped, right? But in 2023 currently, you know, the projection is, you know, amazing because it has gone up way more than it was before. And then there's even a projection for 2027 already. Wow. That, you know, in Nigeria alone, we'll be making well over $3 million from just the travel industry. So you can imagine that growth rate has already been projected to 2027 based on what's currently happening in 2023. So you are sure that growth rate is going to happen.
Increase. Well, I look forward to that.
Now, with the fact that so many people want to travel and all of that, we've seen a lot of people who have been defrauded. You hear this one say, no, I gave this agent $2 million. No, my money has
that even starts from as low as your international passport.
Exactly.
People get, from as low as your international passport, people get defrauded just because they want to travel. But please proceed.
Now, if I want to start a travel agency, because you see some people will be like, no, I think I will start this business myself. You know, I don't want anybody to defraud me.
Apart from people starting, there are some people that even feel like they can run it by themselves.
Run it, of course. So what does it entail to have to start a travel agency?
Or process your own travel. I'm just asking, just in case I want to travel tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. How does one even know that? Okay, no, this person is.
This is a fraud. How do you identify a fraud?
How you identify a fraud? Generally, you know, I remember when, you know, I don't exactly remember the year, but there was this time that this particular girl went for a job interview and she got killed and all of those things, you know.
Wow.
It was a thing at the time. I think it was very popular. We are very familiar with the story. And everybody was like, why did she go without making confirmations?
You
know, like, obviously there's social media. So any serious business that wants to thrive in recent times have to have a presence online.
Right.
So the moment you're not even seeing that there is no presence online, why are you trusting that particular agency?
Because even some of the ones that have presence,
some of
they're
them
still defrauding people.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, sometimes, right, beyond the fact that people feel like agencies defraud, there is the part where people now start to talk about the fact that you have not been able to make refunds. Maybe you make a payment on a particular ticket,
right,
and you're like, I don't want to go again, please give me my refund. So some of those things are processes. So maybe when it takes time,
they now see it as fraud.
You're about to defraud me. You get, but
and they start dragging the person, the agency online or something.
So many people are not aware of the process that goes around traveling. That's why it's always very important for you to go through an agency. You might decide to run it yourself, you encounter problems, but the people that have been in the industry for a long time,
they're familiar
are very
with
aware with the processes and how they can help you through that. So I don't even advise anybody to go ahead and be like, I want to start a process myself. You know, because you might get
I was going to put that question to you, but I'm glad you've already answered it. So it means I don't even bother, don't even try to say you want to do it on your own.
Because you might encounter a problem. There are different rules, you know, spanning from the visa processing for each country. It's completely different.
And the type of person that is also going. Are you a diplomat? Are you yes, seriously. Are you a diplomat? Are you going for unskilled labor or skilled labor, or as the case may be? Are you an entrepreneur?
Exactly.
Are you a student and all of that? Those
so
are
there
the
are
factors.
so many procedures, and it varies from one country to another country. So you making the decision to do it by yourself, you might not know the problems you might encounter. And some of these agencies, you know, have affiliations with people abroad, people in all these places. So it makes everything a lot easier. So you don't encounter the problem of my visa was denied, you know, all those many problems. So it's always best, you know, now everybody be like, oh, I have the information online, I can do whatever, but let's not forget this place of expertise in anything. So it's very important.
I agree with that.
Now, Helia, you're talking about returning of the money for ticketing and all of that. What other challenges do you face as a travel expert?
Okay.
That people don't understand.
Okay. Some of the challenges we face is, you know, there are so many, you know, because like I said initially, from one industry to another industry is different.
Right.
And then the policies are different. So for instance, we might have a challenge with, a particular country. And basically how they want it to be, and how they want the documentation and the process to be. And then you are like, okay, we have done all we need to do. And then maybe there is a problem in the middle of it. Having to communicate that now to someone else that, okay, there are some uncertainties you know, that you might encounter. Then the person might not be able to understand. So that's those that man then
the person might even feel like you are not strong enough to handle the case, or you don't even know what you're doing or something.
So there's also policies for one. I feel like the government has a lot of work to do in terms of the growth and the development of the travel industry in Nigeria. Because if for one there are strong policies to help us as like travel experts or travel agencies that are working with people, if there are policies on ground that are very strong, it's going to help, you know, whatever challenges we are having, it's going to be a lot easier for us to
What type of policies would you expect? Because, for example, I think while we were doing the media review, I raised the issue of Seychelles banning Nigerians from traveling for holidays and all of that. And while we were talking about it, it just kept coming to mind that what is the place of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in all of this? What are they doing to ensure that there is constant communication? Because many a times what I've found or what I've read about with developed countries, if the UK is going to ban, let's say, France from bringing in a particular production, except they are in a trade war, the UK would have notified either the Secretary of State to that country or the ambassador or the Minister of Foreign Affairs to that country. And they would be aware and they would know that this is the reason why this is happening. In fact, without notification, many of the government officials would have made research. They have research companies that are making them know that, okay, if you're not careful, your people will get banned for this reason, and they'll prepare against it. Now, what is the role of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Nigerians in Diaspora Commission and all of them? What exactly is their role in making sure that there are policies in place, and what policies do you in particular look forward to? Okay,
basically, I think some of the things that will make it easier is if they are working in partnership with some of the other commissions outside in some of those countries. For some time now, beyond even issues, for some time now, Dubai has banned Nigeria.
Yes.
People cannot even go for vacation, and I mean, a lot of people used to go to Dubai from Nigeria just for trading and vacation. Like vacation, you go and you just see a lot of Nigerians, and then when the incident of the cultism and everything happened there, before you know what was happening, there was a ban because they have very strong, like they want people that are coming to their country to feel safe. And that is one of their trademark, and they don't even want that to go sour at all. So that was their decision to just ban Nigerians. So if they are able to, talk to them, have like policies that they can
why
put
we have
around.
an ambassador there who should have foreseen that this is the possibility of some, Nigeria. I mean, you're not just living in that country. The ambassadors live in that country so that they can be the eyes and ears of the government. They are literally like the president. Whatever they say is like whatever the president says. They can speak on behalf of the country. So shouldn't that be the role of the ambassador? I know you're not the Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Now, as a traveler now, I want to travel. Either I want to relocate, either I want to go for vacation. What do you feel? What do you think that I should look out for?
Okay.
Talking about the travel industry now, what do you think should?
Okay, so one thing you should look out for is you first of all look for a good agency.
Situation.
I can understand. Let me say, she close eye talker. She close eye talker. You have to look for a good agency.
Okay. Yes, it's very important. But one of the things to look out for basically is you start first of all analyzing what's my budget. How much do I have?
Is your budget for UK or for the Republic? You have to be clear. Are you going to Togo or South Africa?
You have to be very clear on what your budget is. Like, okay, this is what I have for travel. And I feel like that's one thing a lot of Nigerians don't have. That's, that thing of, I really want to travel and I actually am going to work towards it. It's just something we just say by passing. So a lot of people never experience it. But if you say, okay, I want to work towards this, and then you begin to save and say, okay, this is my budget and this is what I want to do, then you now research on countries, that are not within your budget. So if you are going for vacation, you're looking for countries within your budget range. And you're also thinking, okay, this is place I want to visit, these are the places I want to visit. Also check out for, maybe if you're going to the museum, if there is a gate fee that needs to be paid. Am I going to stay in a short-let apartment? Am I doing a 3-star? Am I doing a 2-star? Am I doing a 4-star hotel? So those are some of the things that you need to look out for. Then you now go and say, okay, what's the flight tickets range like? And then you can also, there are peak periods also for flights. There are times when you can actually book flight and it's reduced. And there are also times you book the same flight though. You might be on the same flight with someone else, right? And the person paid way less than you.
Yes, I've observed that. That's a fact. Exactly. I've observed that personally.
So that's because there are different
search times.
Exactly. So you have to, be on it. That's why I also emphasize on the need to have like an agency on board.
Because you're familiar with the...
Exactly. So you might not be familiar and go and pay for something that is very expensive and you're like, you don't even know. You might be on the place and flight and somebody else pay way lesser than that. So those are some of the things that you need to look out for. So at the end of the day, if you are able to, close up on all of that, I mean, when it comes to traveling, it won't be so hard anymore. Something that's very achievable.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us. Do you have any closing remarks for the viewers before we go?
No, I just want to say that for one, like travel is besides the fact that it's expensive, it's very possible. So if you decide now that, okay, in another coming 3 or 4 years to come, I want to travel, just like any other thing you determine on, it's not like something you should put at the side, because what do they say about life? It's very short.
Very short. Very short. And
it's very short. So you want to say, okay, I want to start to plan towards that and make it happen for myself. So that I expose my mind to things. I see beyond where I am. I see beyond Nigeria. I see other cultures. I experience that because the memories will never go.
Right.
They live with you for a very long time. You can just sit there and just remember and just be smiling. So I think everybody should experience that. That's one thing I think everybody should do.
Thank you so much for joining us. We really enjoyed the segment. I'm traveling soon. I don't know yet. I don't have the money yet, but travel must happen by the special grace of God. All right, viewers, that's where we call it a wrap on this segment of Daybreak Africa. We'll see you guys again very soon. We're not done yet. Well, because we're going to go on this very short break. We'll be back very shortly. Do stay with us.